What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about some of the UK's weirdest political traditions. So, because the UK is much older and more historical than the United States, apparently that comes with a bunch of interesting traditions, some people may even refer to as strange. So I have a feeling that I am not going to be familiar with any of this stuff, but that's kind of the point. That's kind of the fun. So let's take a look.
Much of the weirdness in our political traditions comes from the simple fact that our system is truly just very, very old. Our political
Right.
system has developed slowly since around the 13th century, when barons
Okay.
and knights advised the monarch to the system that we know today.
Okay.
With this, practices and traditions developed, and while some of the more important ones have been modernised to work in the 21st century, some have been kept as is.
Right. Like, if you think about this, many of the UK political traditions were literally created like 1,000 years ago, maybe like even further back than that, when life was completely different, to say the least. So I'm actually very curious what kinds of political traditions are actually still in effect in the UK to this day, in the modern day.
And to be fair, it's easy to understand why. If these traditions and practices aren't too important, then the weirdness of them gives the Westminster system a bit of charm, while
Okay.
also reflecting its long history. So let's
Huh. That's a funny way of saying, like, there's some traditions. You got to decide which traditions to keep, I guess. Some are kind of charming. Maybe there are other traditions that have been like thrown out that were just like too weird. I'd love to know what those were.
get into some of the weird political traditions an MP might come across on a typical day in Parliament.
Okay.
Now, starting the day, an MP might decide to go to the cloakroom. It's the UK after all, and the vast likelihood is that it's been raining. Upon hanging up their
The cloakroom, already this word is like, I think everyone has heard of a cloak before, even though that's something that's really in like movies like Lord of the Rings or something, like a cloak. That's already a really cool name. I've never heard of a cloakroom before. That's not really a phrase we even use here in the United States, so this is cool. The cloakroom.
coat, they might notice a small ribbon. Now, this isn't purely decorative. It's actually there for an MP to hang their swords up. After all, it's well known that MPs aren't allowed to bring their swords into the House of Commons.
That's fantastic. That's amazing. Good policy as well. That's just, I mean, that just makes sense. Whether it's 1,000 years ago or whether it's right now, you don't want people bringing their swords into Parliament. Does that mean it's actually technically legal for an MP in the UK to bring a sword to the cloakroom and hang it up next to their coat? Does this imply that that is okay?
There's even a rumour that the lines that MPs must stand behind when debating the House of Commons chamber are deliberately designed to be two sword lengths apart, in order to prevent particularly aggressive parliamentarians from resorting to duelling.
Oh my god, what? Maybe we need to go back to these days. No, but that would definitely be entertaining. And you'd definitely be probably more hesitant to really speak your mind. So it's probably a bad thing. So, literally, back in the day, they had these lines, which they still have actually in the House of Commons. There's these lines I see. They're still there. But these lines, like a long time ago, served a practical purpose. So you have to stand behind it so that your sword, if you're tempted, your sword can't reach another member of parliament. That was actually like a threat. That was actually something that was so likely to happen, they had to make this a law. Like, that's kind of scary.
However, some actually think this theory is unlikely because, as we stated earlier, swords are banned and have been in the House of Commons for centuries.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, once the business of swords is dealt with, an MP
Okay.
might decide that the next best thing to do is source some snuff. As most of our viewers were born in either the 20th or 21st century and not the 18th or 19th, it's likely that many of you don't actually know what snuff is.
Okay, thank you. Good. They didn't say anything about being American. It was more like, if you weren't born in the 18th century, you won't know what this is. That makes me feel a lot better. I feel like I really was lacking some knowledge. What is snuff? Snuff. No, I've never heard of. What is snuff?
Effectively, it's a form of tobacco that's snorted rather than smoked. This was introduced in Parliament in 1694, when smoking was banned in the Commons. As such, a doorkeeper ensures that the so-called parliamentary snuff box is always stocked with snuff from a local tobacconist.
Oh, wait, stop. Wait, hold on. Wait. Wow. So smoking was banned in Parliament. So they came up with this tobacco that you snort in your nose? Actually, snuff? The word almost like sounds like that, like snuff. That's the perfect word for tobacco you'd snort up through your nose, my God. And they didn't ban this. As a matter of fact, there's a special box that they made sure to have packed at all times, full of snuff. Special box. What a perk of being an MP. You get the special snuff, the community snuff box, so everyone can really like be on their toes, be on their best mental acuity. This stuff probably wakes you up in the morning, I can only imagine.
The current box was created in 1943 from a door frame that was blown apart by a German bomb, and has had inscribed on the lid all of the principal doorkeepers since its creation. However, despite its fancy design, if our hypothetical MP were to take up their entitlement to free snuff, this would make them the first MP to do so in decades.
Really?
Freedom of...
Oh, this is still in effect. Oh my gosh, it's funny because some of this stuff is so like out there and weird, just as the title promised. So this is great. I thought this was so strange. I almost was thinking this is a history lesson. Like, oh, yeah, a long time ago, the snuff box, right? No. This is something that still exists today. An MP could technically request the snuff box be brought out and to partake. It's their right. Free unlimited snuff. Still to this day. Wow, from that old box made out of a door.
Information request from 2010 found that the last time an MP used the box was all the way back in 1989.
1989, I mean, that's a long time ago, but it's not like that long ago. 35 years or something. Like someone, like not that long ago, within our lifetime, requested the old traditional snuff box be brought out. That's funny.
So perhaps our MP will give snuff a miss and instead make their way to the green benches so that they can start doing the work of representing the constituents that elected them.
Right. I didn't know there was all this stuff slowing the MPs down. You got to hang up your cloak, hang up your sword, decide if you want the snuff box or not, and then finally you can get to work.
Now, if they want to guarantee themselves a space on the famous green benches that day, then they'll need to reserve a seat. Because despite there being 650 elected MPs, the benches can actually only seat 427 of them.
What? Really? I don't know that much about how politics and government in the UK works. I know about this House of Commons. I recognize this chamber. I had no idea that there was a limited number of seats. You actually have to reserve a seat. You don't have like a special part of the bench that's like your part of the bench. I guess I never really thought about how this might work, but since we're here, you have to reserve it, and that seems kind of bad that there's not enough room for every MP. If every MP wanted to go, wouldn't you want that to be a possibility? Wouldn't you want that to be possible?
This design, along with the fact that the benches are designed to be facing each other, deliberately makes the chamber seem more full, more heated, and more adversarial. There was a
Wait. What? What? This is all on purpose. Nothing is by accident. This is on purpose. Limited number of seats so that it's always packed or more likely to be packed. More likely to be confrontational? Thank goodness that you have to leave your swords back in the cloakroom. And if everyone had swords and was packed full of snuff, who knows what would happen?
There was a moment when this could have been changed, though. As we mentioned more offhandedly than we probably should have earlier, the House of Commons was hit by a German bomb during the Second World War.
Really?
And was set to be rebuilt.
Really? I had no idea. The House of Commons was hit by a bomb in the World War. I had no idea about that.
The then Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, had the option to change the design of the chamber and make it less adversarial, perhaps by making it bigger and opting for a semicircular design, something that parliaments around the world were adopting at the time.
Yeah, that's exactly how Parliament in the United States, that's what it looks like. It's a semicircle. The British Parliament, or the House of Commons, is really cool. It's really striking and unique. And it is kind of cool how, like, it almost promotes debate and argument in a way, which is kind of what you want. Your representatives, like, passionately debating and fighting almost for what they're trying to represent for you, the people. But they had a chance to at least make it bigger, which I think they should have done, just so the maximum number of MPs that exist could theoretically fit in the whole room. I think that would have been good.
He decided not to, and rebuilt it pretty much as it used to be. So MPs still have to cram into the chamber. But how would our MP reserve their seat?
Yeah.
Well, they do this by attending morning prayers and filling out a prayer card.
What?
This is one of the only ways to reserve a seat, and can be important on days when high-profile debates are scheduled.
How? What? There's morning prayers? This is one of the strangest ones so far, that this is like one of the most old-fashioned methods. You fill out like a physical card, a prayer card. I'm not even sure how that works or what that is, but you fill out this card and hope to get your reserved seat. This is one of the oldest, like, traditions they've talked about that seem like very important. Like, it's pretty critical who gets into a debate, right? So I almost feel like they should modernize this one or make more room, honestly. Like, this is really important stuff to be leaving up to who can fill out their cue card the quickest, you know?
Regardless, assuming that our MP does get a seat booked, they may go off to their parliamentary office to get some constituency work done while they wait for their debates. Their office may be located in the Palace of Westminster or the adjacent Portcullis House, which is attached to the palace via an underground tunnel that goes under the road.
Whoa.
If this is the case, then our MP needs to be informed of any votes happening in the chamber, so that they can rush back in time for their vote to be counted.
Oh, wow.
Lucky for them, around the whole parliamentary estate, bells and TVs are installed that light up and inform members that their presence is required in the chamber.
Wait. So while the debate is going on, like, some of the MPs go off and do work and stuff? Like they got other stuff to do? And there's a whole underground network of, like, secret MP tunnels as well, with bells. And this is what I came for. This is the kind of stuff. This is actually fascinating to me.
These bells were even installed in popular pubs, such as the Red Lion around Westminster,
Really?
just in case MPs had slunk off for a cheeky mid-afternoon pint.
No way. Just in case the MPs went to the pub. They put some of these bells in the pub. Like, the olden days were amazing, man. Like, amazing. History is amazing. Like, that you hear that now and you laugh. I think it's funny. It's almost like a joke, but it's not. It's literally like a real history. They put a bell in the pubs because some of the MPs went to the pub. Can you blame them?
Many of these now, though, don't work. So our MP has at least some reminders of votes, but it's worth remembering that these votes only happen when Parliament is in session.
Okay.
Parliament often closes for a number of weeks through the year, with the recess dates aligning roughly with school holidays. It's also closed, though, for the period of prorogation, which is officially the period between the end of a parliamentary session and the King's Speech, which officially starts the next parliamentary session. Now, the King's Speech is a pretty unique event. Essentially, the monarch sits in the House of Lords and reads a speech written by the government, announcing their policies for the next session.
Oh, how often does this happen? I thought this sounded like a really rare event, like the King's Speech. Like, what is that, once a year or something? This makes it sound like the king has to do this speech every time, like in between every single parliament meeting during the year. He has to do this.
This is one of the only situations where MPs are allowed to sit in the House of Lords, but can only do so after being invited.
Oh, well, after being invited? There are so many little rules that are still in effect to this day. On that note, like, I gotta say, I think it's really cool to respect and observe tradition. That's a really awesome thing about, like, a culture and history. And I love that in the UK, a lot of these old traditions are still followed and respected, but some of these are just like, at a certain point, and I think we were talking about this early on in this video, at a certain point, you have to decide, like, which ones are, like, the ones you want to keep that are kind of cool and respected, and which ones are just kind of obsolete or even counterproductive. Like, specifically the one that limits the number of, like, benches in the House of Commons, you know, that kind of stuff.
This is when one of the weirdest parts of the day happens. In essence, a person with the title of Black Rod, who is responsible for controlling access to the House of Lords, goes to the House of Commons chamber to summon MPs for the speech. As they get to the door is deliberately slammed in their face, which is done to symbolise the Commons' independence.
Wait, what is going on? What? Wait, what's happening? What? Doors getting slammed in people's faces. Someone's got a big rod. Okay, I think I need to hear that one more time. Okay, the Black Rod goes to the House of Commons to summon the MPs that are being invited to the House of Lords. And when is a door slammed in their face?
Commons chamber to summon MPs for the speech. As they get to the door is deliberately slammed in their face, which is done to symbolise the Commons' independence.
No way.
As with many things listed in this video, it probably isn't essential to the day-to-day functioning of Parliament, but it has become an iconic quirk in the British political system.
Exactly. That is iconic. I've never heard of that one. That is so, that's bizarre to me, but also kind of cool. You have to have the proper slamming technique, I suppose. Who gets to do the slamming of the door? I have a lot of questions about that. Yeah, it's like, is that necessary? No. Is it kind of cool and kind of funny? Yeah, so okay.
But what do you think? Are these the weirdest political processes and traditions?
Yes.
Have we missed anything big? Let us know in the comments below.
Okay, and there we have it. This video was fantastic. That was extremely entertaining. Rather educational as well. This video was by TLDR News, and I gotta give it a like, because I really did like that. That was fascinating. A lot of interesting and, dare I say, weird UK political traditions. Do a lot of people in the UK know these traditions, like with the swords and the snoof or the snuff and the black rod and the slamming of the door, and you need an invitation to the House of Lords, and the House of Commons was blown up during a world war. I didn't know that. So much stuff that I think definitely me as an American had no idea about. I feel like I got a special little bonus about history in the UK, that we are not taught this kind of stuff in our American history classes. So this was super fun for me. Super interesting stuff, really interesting traditions, and I totally get it. This is like kind of the unique, cool, quirky parts of I don't know, history in the UK that it's cool that a lot of this stuff is still around. I enjoyed this a lot. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of these UK political traditions that we learned here today. That'd be very interesting to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to the UK and UK culture and learning things about the UK for the first time, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.